My name is Rita, and I am the American Spaces Director at the U.S. Embassy, Ghana. And for today's program, I'm working with my colleague, Andrew. Andrew is the American Spaces Outreach Coordinator. American Spaces provides access to current and reliable information about the United States through book collections, internet access, and events and activities for everyone. Normally, we would be meeting face-to-face, either at our American Center at the U.S. Embassy in Accra or our American Corner in North Legon. But due to the global pandemic, our spaces are temporarily closed. The good news is through virtual programming, we are able to reach beyond Accra. Thanks to the African Regional Service, Paris, for working with the U.S. Embassy Ghana, American Spaces Accra, to bring this program to everyone. And thanks to you all for being part of today's event. Participants may make use of the Zoom icon, raise hand. Participants may make use of the Zoom icon, raise hand, to ask a question, or you may type your questions in the chat box. Today, we'll be discussing the role of tech entrepreneurship in the post-COVID world. And we are going to do that with Dana Redford. Just a little about Dana. Dana Redford is the founder and president of Policy Experimentation and Evaluation Platform. He is an internationally recognized expert on entrepreneurship, innovation, and public policy. He has worked as an expert for the U.S. Department of Commerce, the European Union, the UN, and various European and African governments. He coordinated the largest policy experimentation project on entrepreneurship in schools in the EU. In Africa and the Middle East, he has developed initiatives on high-impact entrepreneurship, financial inclusion, and business incubation. And he is not a stranger to Ghana, as he has visited many times to research and collaborate, and wishes to return post-COVID with the colleagues with us today. Please join me in welcoming Dana Redford. Dana, over to you. You have the floor now.
Thank you so much, Rita. It is a great pleasure to be with you today. I have such great respect for what a wonderful group of people we have here today. Really, I'm so pleased and thank the U.S. Embassy so much for putting together what a wonderful group. And we're going to talk about the role of tech entrepreneurship in the post-COVID world. There's obviously lots of things that are happening, and Rita explained a little bit about my background. So as you can see from the virtual background behind me, this is the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge, where I'm a senior fellow at the University of California, Berkeley. But actually today I'm talking to you from Lisbon, Portugal. So I can change a little bit here, the virtual scenery, and here we are in downtown Lisbon. I have had the honor of being able to work with many colleagues in Africa. Currently, we have a project which I will describe to you called SG for Africa, looking at something that is really quite important, savings groups in Africa. As Rita mentioned, I love Ghana. It's a wonderful place with wonderful people. I have the honor of being with Professor James and Professor Chris, we have done some wonderful things together. And I do, as Rita mentioned, looking forward so much to returning to your wonderful country. So let's get started, and you feel free to please put some questions in the chat, and we'll have time to discuss. I will stop periodically in my presentation, and we can discuss some of the ideas. So first, this is not the first time that I've had the pleasure to speak with an audience in this virtual way. We had a wonderful Facebook Live presentation with many young people, and I was able to meet some of the young people afterwards, of course, again online, and learning a lot about your country and also their aspirations for finding a new job. But let's start with the reality. And the reality is this will be a tough time. This is a real drop in GDP that we have not seen in most of our lifetimes. And this will be a difficult time. But as we know, in times of crisis, this is when opportunity really becomes the essence, and we see how we will get out of these times through the lenses of opportunity. So we need to start thinking about this. So one of the things that, as I started doing my research and preparing for this talk and looking at Ghana, modern Ghana, I really like this initiative, this idea of promoting female ICT and digital skills. I did want to mention that this is great. Someone needs to teach the a bit of maybe web images and things, because it actually is this spread out in what they have online. But here's an image that is more dignified. But these are all the right steps, because if we're going to talk about growth markets, and I know that there are people on this call that are actually working to promote women and promote them as entrepreneurs, promote them with their digital skills. And this is really one of the things that will propel Ghana and propel Africa as we have more cooperation and more participation from women in the workforce. So I think that this is really on the right path. Likewise, government should be an example. And I think that these opening of ICT centers is key. Bringing technology. One of the problems here is we will have an uneven recovery. And that is that 1/3 approximately in developed countries at least can actually work remotely, whereas 2/3 people obviously have to be there physically. So I think the more that we can promote this, maybe I would just say to Her Excellency the Minister to put the mask on all the way over the nose. But I have to say that let's start focusing on the opportunities, okay? Because there are lots of opportunities here in Ghana, and that is that we have a mobile subscription rate, mobile penetration rate, which has been growing. And that is across the country. I know that several people many times have multiple mobile phone operations, and this is very positive. We need to think about how to reach the customer if we're going to be looking at technology. I also wanted to put some user data for internet in perspective. So here we see in Ghana, we have about 38% penetration. This is again use of Facebook subscribers and population data, but we can say that it's probably a little bit more. But just to let you know, comparatively, for example, something like 24% of families in Italy, where part of this pandemic, at least here in Europe, started, do not have access to the internet. So we need to think about if Ghana is at 38% and the developed country might be at 75%, we need to think about how things are going to be developing. And now we need to talk a little bit more about how we see the population growth, because this is something that defines obviously populations and markets. So in Portugal, for example, where I live, the women tend to have less than 2 children. Keeping the stable population is 2.1 children statistically per woman. And I can confirm, actually, I spoke with one of the young ladies that attended the previous session, and she told me about some of her career and her aspirations. And one of the aspirations was to have 4 children, which, you know, here in Europe would be amazing, and a very large family, but is actually a part of Ghanaian society, and is actually on par, as we can see with the number here. So we're talking about a growing market, but also obviously one of the things that's important is a growing market that is not just in Ghana. We're looking at Africa as a larger market. And we can see that there is a fast rate of growth in terms of internet users, a fast rate of growth in terms of use of technology, and bringing that to a younger society, which is more comfortable with technology. So if I quote the African Development Bank, it is an imperative that businesses and governments digitize their operations and coordinate their activities in order to enable businesses the continuity and build resilience for future crises. The industries such as telecoms and medias have been less affected by the pandemic. For example, obviously aviation and tourism will feel the squeeze. And this is something that we need to consider in terms of talking about the pandemic and its aftermaths. So here I just take a bit of some ideas where we can look at some possible opportunities. Everything from smart grids, data centers, skills development, which I know some of the participants are working on, and having this clear vision and utilizing the internet. Also, we can say that one of the key drivers will be this idea of emerging technologies, and this idea of the type of emerging technologies that will come out with a lot of big data and looking at how to utilize social enterprise software and connecting with customers is going to be key and driving data and driving also the recovery. So if we look at also some of the upcoming, obviously we have high mobile penetration, use of that sort of data, building also big data and apps. But one of the things that I think is obviously key, we have something like 90% of children globally were in a virtual classroom in the month of April and May. And so we can think of the educational possibilities being a key driver as well. So we can think that organizations like McKinsey and others have highlighted this as a key. But again, one of the key drivers is this emerging technologies. So maybe I just stop for a second here and go back into our presentation with the group, and just to maybe you know, talk a little bit about this and say, you know, please share some of your experiences. What do you think are some of the opportunities here in Ghana? Please feel free to unmute yourself.
And raise your hand for Andrew.
Yes, please.
Okay, to unmute you to ask your question or put your question in the chat box anywhere. It's okay.
Yes.
Do we have any questions for Dana?
Yeah, or comments. I mean, because I think that we have some, some real key things, and I also think, again, you know, one of the things that we can think are women are going to be key, and bringing them into the workforce, I think is a key aspect that we need to focus on. And I know that we have some experts that are working with women in our group today, and so I'm always interested also to understand. So from Professor James, I see that we have a question of contributions from the microfinance sector. Yes, I think that there are key aspects actually that we can look at in terms of microfinance. And microfinance is going to be one of the drivers for micro enterprises. And it's one of the things, so with Professor James, we are working on a shared chapter on the middle income group, looking at savings groups. So maybe I'll go back to sharing our presentation. We'll discuss a little bit like that, and then we'll come back to further discussion. So in terms of some of the ideas now, let's get into some specific areas. So beyond having women who are going to help us in this new phase, and also looking at the emerging technologies that will come and help us, we must also look at some of the different ways in which we can analyze this. So this is the areas of interest that I have in terms of some of the research that I've been doing also with Professor Christopher Bache. We are working on something called SG for Africa. And we can also look, so we talked a little bit about microfinance, but we can also look at online learning and moving aspects from an analog to digital. And I'm going to make a parallel between our project and these areas. I know we also have a distinguished guest from the area of agriculture. And so I have the drones here, where this is starting to be used, where we can't get workers out into fields, or because of the pandemic, to try to start using technology. As you can see with the two phones that make a heart, a lot of the reality, I mean, I'm married with 2 children. From what I hear from my single friends, a lot of reality now is obviously online dating. It has to be mainstream, you know, meeting people virtually. And other things that we move from an analog, like a birthday party, to a digital. So, you know, this is again a great opportunity where we see, obviously we have digital ordering for groceries, etc. So we have, you know, many different ways in which we can move analog to digital. This is from Wharton, from the University of Pennsylvania, one of the top business schools in the US. And if we're looking at digital transformation, we obviously have the remote working place. Again, this does not affect everyone, but is a key aspect. We have workplace automation. We have online services. Virtual medicine is something that has been really been taking off. And if you see and talk to markets that have now passed the pandemic, for the most part, telemedicine is here to stay, and perhaps a decline in retail, but obviously virtual and online retail has replaced that in developed markets. But we also have other forces. We have a pushback from globalization. We have different marketing practices that include social media and data analytics, as we had just discussed. But also this idea, especially here in Europe, that the recovery has to be green. So the major political initiative from the European Commission is something called the Green Deal, the European Green Deal. And the European Green Deal is one of the basis for the European Commission moving forward. And there are all sorts of opportunities. If you understand some of these policy documents, you understand what will also be coming from, say, European Union funding, and other international partners. So to our project, our shared project, which is SG for Africa, Savings Groups in Africa, Pan-African research project. And this, we have PEEP, my NGO, which I'm president of, as well as the University of Johannesburg. We are the co-coordinators. The University of Johannesburg is also a regional cluster coordinator. We have the University of Central University in Ghana, and Addis Ababa University in East Africa, as well as Strathmore Business School in Kenya. And these are the governance that supports this, and Christopher Boitier and his team have been key in reviewing and in developing excellent case studies about Ghana, and also reviewing the whole project. As most of you know, Susus in Ghana, so I won't read this whole slide, but the important thing to know is that this is a Pan-African phenomenon. So your Susus and the savings groups that are a part of your culture are also a part of cultures across Africa. And my challenge to you is to think about something like this, which is traditional. These are groups that help each other, self-help groups, or groups that assist one another in savings, in financial inclusion. One of the reasons I like savings groups is because, okay, you know, poor people as middle class and other people need to borrow money so that they're able to invest, so that they're able to smooth consumption. But this is putting poor people in debt to other poor people in a communal sense. And also, I mean, there are positive and negatives, of course, to anything. But I want you to think about something like this, which most people just feel as a part of their society, and put that into a digital sense. So I have a few examples of that. As you can see, our research project, we're in 14 different African countries. We're looking across different regions and trying to find commonalities and differences. But what I wanted to speak about with you in this regard is here is a platform that has brought something that has been completely analog. I mean, usually we're talking, many times it's women who are sitting in a circle with a lockbox and a key. Someone is a key holder, someone has a box, and someone has a ledger that writes out who owes and who has put in how much money. But this doesn't have to be this way. We can bring this to a digital format. So the challenge here is to look at what are some of the things that are traditional, what are some of the things that are new also in your country, and try to bring this to a digital format. So the one that I just showed you is from French-speaking Africa. Here's another example from South Africa. So this is Stokveld, because Stokveld is what they call savings groups in South Africa. And here you can use this via your mobile phone or a website. And we're talking about many millions of rand, billions of rand, many millions of dollars per year that are going in this area. So I'm going to stop again and join the group and just to discuss if you have any further ideas about which areas you think might benefit from this move from an analog to a digital type of format.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, Nunya Afara is my name, and the MD of Amago Technologies. And Dana we seem to be taking in the same direction. Yeah, because what Amago Technologies is doing currently is identify the opportunities that all this evolution is bringing. So what we have sought to do, as you can see the first one on my display picture, co-chatbot, is to build a virtual assistant. So we are in the service of providing virtual assistant to businesses for companies that have huge call center calls. So we are virtualizing the assistants for businesses, and that's what co-chatbot is all about.
Wonderful.
And then another aspect that we have also identified is we are now into creating digital presence for businesses in the form of animations and content creation. So we have an animation studio that helps businesses create fancy ads and, you know, just build their online presence through video content. Now, we decided to do this when we got an information that by the end of 2022, 82% of the world's traffic is going to be video. So right there, we saw that there's an opportunity for the creation of video content. So now what we do at Animate Studios is we help businesses create a lot of video content for their following on social media.
Excellent.
All right,
So
thank you.
Thank you, Nunya, and that is excellent. I really enjoyed your presentation and also discussing some of these opportunities. So you're right. These types of chatbots, these sorts of virtual assistants, there is an estimation, because I looked at using this sort of technology in the European Institute for Innovation and Technology, which is a large European entity which has co-location centers across Europe and has many knowledge innovation communities. And one of the things that was repeatedly said was that, so these programs also have mobility and other things to answer questions of students, that at least 60% could be automated. And this frees up a lot of human resources. It really helps with implementation. It helps getting knowledge out to students and others. So I think that you're in a very good position, a very good area. One of the things that I might add to you, to your presentation and for you to think about is also perhaps you want to reach out also to some NGOs, because those I can think of many in the space of savings groups that actually are using video, because one of the problems, you have to think about the problems of certain types of initiatives. And one of the things is you get diluted messages from the core, right? So you have an NGO, an international NGO that comes to, say, Ghana, brings an idea, then they have trainers that are trained, and then they train the trainers who are going to go out and work with the people. What happens is, as it gets passed to different people, we lose a little bit of the core message. So keeping that is actually through video. So I know that there have been also some technology solutions where these, an entity like yours, I'm thinking of one in Tanzania, that actually had used these videos to go out and help. And I'm thinking about this example of the savings groups. But let me please bring in some other people who might like to speak.
Okay.
I see Kevin has his real hand up.
Kevin has his hand. So Andrew, can you unmute Kevin to speak? Kevin, unmute yourself and speak.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm Kevin. I'm currently working in the space of agribusiness, and I'm working with a lot of rural farmers, smallholder rural farmers. And somewhere along the line, we realized that there's no accurate data, okay, that drives the investments that go into smallholder farming. Very few commodities like cocoa and I think probably cashew, that is huge, have a lot of data on them. But other commodities like groundnuts, yam, pepper, garden eggs, beans, all of these products do not have a lot of data, basic data from the farmers. If I say data, what I mean is each family, the number of acres they have, what revenue they are generating on an annual basis. And most of them are also out of the financial system. So there's no evaluation that the banks and the financial sector can use as a basis of extending financial support to these farmers. So somewhere last year, my company sought out to create a farmers network that we call Third World Equafo Network. So the focus is we are collecting data, on the ground data. We actually go to the farms of these farmers and measure the size of their farms, know the acres of whatever commodity they planted, the expected harvest period and all that. We are trying to gather this from our network so that we can estimate the volumes of farm produce that they are expecting come end of year or come season. and then use it to look for access to markets for them, because that is their problem. Their major problem is post-harvest losses. They don't have access to markets because there's no data. They're not able to, how do you call it, estimate or be able to find markets before the time is due. Now, my question to you is, what are the areas of investment that and areas of research that you guys are looking at in this space? I've started something. What I'm doing is I have an e-commerce platform that I'm trying to link to get people to order fresh food straight from the farm that could be delivered to households. So this year I'm targeting about 1,000 households that we will feed with a basket of, say, food every weekend. So I'm trying to provide direct access markets to these farmers' produce. But I think that is not enough. That is why I typed that I think that one of the way forward is being able to guide our smallholder farming, our local farmers with data. I'm also trying to a financial inclusion bit where I try to purchase all their stuff through the banking system. So even if they are selling just a kilo of tomatoes to me, I try to make their payment through a small account, whether a mobile money platform or small bank accounts, before they can have access to it, just to be able to get them into the financial sector and able to provide basis for having access to finance.
Wonderful. First of all, Kevin, congratulations on working in a very interesting area, an area that is key for your country and for Africa. I actually have, I think, in these next slides, a real tangible idea for you. And that is that we need to think about how we can experiment. As entrepreneurs, and myself being a social entrepreneur and having opened companies in the US, in Asia, and here in Europe, the idea here is that we need to have an experiment. This can be an experiment for investors. It can be an experiment for international investors or international NGOs. You know, certainly, Kevin, in your area, we can look at an idea here of having a vision, creating an experimentation, developing that product and service and the technology, and trying to look at this this sort of loop of evidence. So, in terms of how we can experiment, the process here is really through co-created solutions. So that's going out to the farmers, and it's really a perfect example to discuss this, because knowing what they need, I have a really pertinent example actually about Ghana in the agricultural sector, which Professor Boakye and I presented in Rwanda about a year and a half ago. But I don't, unfortunately, think we're going to have enough time for it. It gets a little more technical, but I promise to send it to you, Kevin. But the idea here is that we co-create solutions. So in this example in Ghana about crops, we can see that many times farmers will invest in various crops. You know, why is that? So a small farmer will plant many different types of crops on their parcel of land. But they do this because, as any good farmer knows, sometimes your crops can be completely wiped out. The same crop can be very difficult to make sure on a large scale works. So what people are doing to manage that risk is they're putting various crops in their fields. However, we know that to make money, you need to do things on scale. So then one of the things is to then try to work with crop insurance. And crop insurance has been experimented in this way. But I use this slide and talk about co-creation with the end recipients, because you really need to understand what are their problems. Why are they not making enough money, or why are they investing all in different crops and losing that ability of scale? So we can, what do we need to do to build evidence? So evidence typically, and this is one of the areas in which I work a lot. In fact, I had been speaking with investors, so I know that there are as I remember looking at the attendance list, we don't have so many people from the healthcare sector, but actually I was speaking with a Finnish company that wanted to do healthcare vouchers And I was recommending that actually they go into the Ghanaian market because of it being a good test market, it being macroeconomically sound and also politically also sound and a safe place to test things. So I think your country is key for this sort of ideas. And if we look at, this is the ladder of evidence, okay? So many times people, and as good entrepreneurs, we need to be able to tell sunshine stories. That is to say, I can tell you about, for example, from my last webinar in Ghana, I can tell you about a great story about this young woman who contacted me. We discussed some of her goals, and we went back and forth in discussing how she could develop herself. Now that is a sunshine story. That's a one story. It's not a very large amount of data, but it hopefully shows that what I did 2 weeks ago had some sort of impact on the audience. But then if we wanted to develop it further, we would look at outcomes. So this is different ways of looking. You can look at documentation. A/B testing is very common in technology. You have an ad that you put on to one viewer, then you put another ad to another viewer, and it's all to drive to the same traffic. To a specific site or something that you're trying to sell. And this is A/B testing. So you show one and you show another, and then you see from this A/B testing which one has the most click-through, and that's a way of also testing. This is also, many times we talk about a difference in difference model. This is what I'm going to be using on climate change education here in Europe in the next 3 years. And we'll be looking at a control group, and we'll be looking at a group that will get the treatment of climate change education. So these are different ways. And then the top of the evidence-based ladder is random control trials. This is when we decide who gets the treatment randomly. And this way, and this is what they do in the pharmaceutical industry, we take out the bias and we can really show evidence. But I urge you, all of you technology entrepreneurs, please look at what sort of evidence you're presenting. And if you are at the base of the ladder and you have no ideas about outcomes, or if you're telling sunshine stories, the next thing is to advance. Try to show something where you have a control group and you have a treatment group. And you can see the differences in results and outcomes of these groups. So this is one of the ways I think that savvy entrepreneurs, and especially those who are looking at these impacts, social entrepreneurs, but not only, is you look at this idea of tracking progress. So you see inputs, activities, those are what you're doing. So the inputs might be investment in money, time, technology, activities. Now you are there with your website, you're with your mobile device, you're working with the people in the fields. Those have outcomes. That means X number of farmers are using the technology, Y number of farmers have used a loan that you're able to facilitate through mobile payments. These are all outcomes. And then you have, outputs. And then you have outcomes, which are from that loan, they are able to make better investments. They're able to retool. They're able to be able to grow their farm, buy the farm next door, and long-term outcomes. And then we also have impacts. This means that this farmer can put his daughter through to university and to learn about ICT and other things. So this is, if you don't know this paradigm of from inputs, outputs to impacts, I urge you to please think about this. So I'll stop here because I'm very interested in speaking more with this fantastic group of people. And please, Rita, I give the floor back to you.
Thank you. Thank you. So Andrew has told us in the chat box, please unmute yourself to ask a question or make a contribution. And I think Florence made a contribution. I don't know whether she wants to unmute herself and make the contribution on the floor. Florence is making a contribution. She's saying helping women to learn simple digital tools to enhance their lives and businesses is very important. That's a contribution from Florence. Do we have any questions from anyone? Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Auntie Rita. So I just wanted to add that, we are in an era where technology seems to be advancing. Now it's AI, now it's so advanced. But in Africa, you still find out that when you talk to people, even some graduates, you find out that they still lack basic skills. They still don't. There was one time a graduate walked up to me and she didn't know how to use Google Docs collaborative tools. And so, you know, especially when we are in the industry for a long time, the temptation is that once technology is advancing, we also start teaching advanced things, forgetting that I mean, there would be some target audience that we need that advanced tools, but from where I see it, I still see that there is still a gap in teaching people just the basic tools that people need to advance in their personal lives, to grow their personal lives and also their businesses. And I want to hear your opinion on that.
Yes. So first of all, Florence, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that one thing that I can put, and I'll put in the chat, is there are competency frameworks for digital competencies that have been developed by the EU, and they are fantastic. First of all, there's also there's a range of them. One is called DigComp. It's Digital Competency Framework. It shows on what citizens and students should have. It goes through a progression model. It shows you from the youngest to the oldest, or youngest to more advanced. You know, people who then are creating content and developing ICT tools. So these three frameworks, one is DigComp, which is for Digital Competency Framework for Individuals. Another one is DigComp.org. So now that is the digital competencies that educational and other organizations should have. So this can also include companies. And finally, there's a DigComp.edu, which is one of the things that I'm actually basing my new project on climate change education here in Europe on, which will be a 3-year, 2.6 million euro project that we hope will get in the next year. And this will be based on digital competencies for educators. So we want to develop a parallel competency framework for climate change. So those are 3 resources that I can share with you, Florence. And I think you're on the right track. I was very excited to see that there were at least 2, I think, participants who are working with women and working on promoting this. So I'm very pleased, and I thank you for sharing. Please, I saw Professor James, you had
yes.
a comment?
I think Professor Chris.
Professor Chris, okay, yes.
Yes, had a hand up. So please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yes, it's really not a question, but I think that if the participants who are on the field, if everyone can share his or her experience with us, I think it will be great. And then we can also give him or her our views and ideas.
Yes,
okay.
Professor
Thank you.
Christopher Wache, always one to bring in people, and a great colleague. Thank you,
Yeah,
Chris.
That's good. That's good. Okay, we have Professor Pepra.
yeah. Thank you, Rita, and congratulations, Dana, for the wonderful presentation. I'm impressed. You share the slides with us. Sure.
Yes.
Are you gonna share the slides with us?
Yes, I will share the slides
Okay,
with you.
so
Sure.
my contribution, from the microfinance industry, I'm a researcher, a teacher, and an entrepreneur. And I operate a small microfinance business in Cape Coast here. And we are really, really, really experienced in the effect of COVID-19. Indeed, I can say that COVID-19 is now an endemic disease. No longer, it's moved from a pandemic to endemic, because we should acknowledge, accept the fact that we're going to stay with it. So technology should be part of us. Now, my kids are using the tablet to study at home. Those in the primary school, they are using the tablet to study at home. Now, we did a survey with GAMFIN. GAMFIN is a Ghana Microfinance Institutions Network, the umbrella body that supervises microfinance activities in Ghana. So we did a rapid assessment survey, online survey using the Google Donkey survey, and we realized that there is a deviation, or there is a movement from person-to-person contact to the use of mobile phone to the use of other digital services. So quickly, I had an IT expert say, okay, let me design my forms online so that people can easily access my forms online. And it's really working. It's really working. But you know one problem in Ghana, internet is expensive.
Yes.
We don't want to spend on infrastructure, IT infrastructure. In East Africa, internet is cheaper. Talk about Kenya, Tanzania, and other parts of Eastern African countries. So I think, I don't know what we can do, Dana, if we can advocate for policy to reduce the cost of internet usage, because COVID has come to stay with us. And the way to go is technology. The way to move is technology. So we shouldn't think that, oh, next year, COVID will be no more. In the university here, we are using Zoom to teach.
Yes.
Every professor is teaching online, assessment online, assignments online, tests online. So realize that the importance of the use of technology cannot be underestimated. So I think we need policy that will push to reduce the cost of internet in this country. Out of that, we cannot really reap the benefit of technology. Again, we haven't done much as far as transforming the use of digital facilities, mobile facilities into a local language. If you go to Kenya, for instance, Swahili, I mean, the farmer who never went to school can pick the phone and then use the phone to talk in Swahili.
Mm-hmm.
Ghana is not like that. Our parents who didn't go to school, how do they make use of the mobile phone instead of the English language? So I think that if you want to use mobile money effectively, then the message should be in the local language, either in Ga, Twi, Ewe, Hausa, Dabani. The voice message should also be in a local language, so that if I send money to my mother in the village, the mobile phone can tell my mother that you have received this amount of money from your son James in Cape Coast. Rather than taking the mobile phone to somebody, an agent, to cash the money for her, he or she may cheat her. So I think we need research on that. I don't know if Dana, what you can help us to do. Thank you.
Well, I think you make an excellent point, James, and I think it's a wonderful comment. I think that usually we see that the prices are going down for internet and other costs, but let's think about that and let's see what other types of questions and ideas our audience have. Chris.
So,
all right.
From James.
Larissa, you will come after
I think
Professor watching.
I'm only making a comment on James' position. I think one of the things we can do is to write in the daily papers, write and then talk about the importance of translating some of these things into our local language. We know our politicians, if you don't write, and write, it will be very difficult for us to penetrate. So I think that is one of the tools we can use. Okay, if you can get these things in our local language, like we said, to really benefit our rural folks, so that Kevin and Co, their businesses can also flourish. So that's one of my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. For us to write so that the politicians will invest in translating this English language into local language for the rural area, those are parents and all those living in the rural areas, or those who cannot even speak English, to understand and be able to also use these technologies to their benefits. Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof. Do we have Larissa?
Yes. So thank you
Larissa.
to American Spaces for organizing this event. Thanks to Professor Dana and the rest of the team. It was very interesting. I also see some familiar faces. My contribution and my question is, I think Professor Pepper was spot on when he was talking about how internet is expensive. In fact, I think the biggest barriers in our digital divide is cost. And you find out that the average cost of 1 gigabyte of data on the continent is 7% of average income, according to the Alliance for Affordable Internet. And so that is really our issue. And so I wanted to ask if there are any policy makers on this program, what are some of the ways we can work towards reducing the cost of internet to encourage more people to get access to internet? My work involves highlighting African women in STEM, science, technology, and engineering. And I'm doing this to provide role models to young girls so that they can visualize themselves as being future STEM leaders. Now, my problem is I can't reach girls in peri-urban rural areas because they don't have access to internet. And so that is my challenge, and I'm trying to figure out a way to make that possible. So you find out that my targets is usually those in secondary schools and the university who would probably have access to internet, and so they can be inspired by the women that I'm highlighting. So this is basically the question I have for policymakers on here. Thank you.
Thank you, Larissa. We have Florence making a contribution in the chat box. Florence, can you tell us a bit of the Alliance for Affordable Internet? You mentioned in the chat box you are working with stakeholders to reduce internet costs. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, and I think Larissa also mentioned it just on point. So the Alliance for Affordable Internet is an arm of the Web Foundation, which is based in the US. And what they are doing is they are working with, they have working groups. So they are working with different parties like telecommunications companies. They are working with some entrepreneurs. They're working with government as well, and also discussing with them to reduce the price of internet costs. So it's a multi-stakeholder engagement to ensure that internet cost is reduced, especially in Africa. And so they've been doing this for a couple of years now, and I think that they have achieved some successes. And the report is available. I can share it with the group later on and also throw more light on it. But their main aim is to ensure that people have access to internet connectivity across board.
Thank you, Florence.
Wonderful. I saw that there was also a question about the informal economy, and also to build on what Florence was saying. I mean, some of these issues that we have in terms of being able to present programs, educational programs, because of a lack of internet, it is actually something that we can, there are some workarounds. Some, you know, working with videos, working, for example, in the space of savings groups. Many times, the trainer will bring out, and that was what I was saying, is there's this problem as we leave the core, we lose the messaging. And so many times they will bring actually videos in the local languages to people in the villages, and being able to demonstrate what they need to do in terms of the savings group, and what they need to do in terms of building the group itself. So there are some workarounds. Obviously, we talk a bit about the internet, and as I mentioned, 2/3 of the population cannot work from home. So I think that the idea here is to try to understand technology that can help informal workers. And many times also, if I go back to the savings group space, You have MMS technology, so the actual SMS technology, where you're not working with video conferences or fancy smartphone apps. You're working just with the ability to change text messages. So I know that's a very hard thing to be able to teach a whole course with or something like that. But another way in which I can share with you that I know of is something which is an alternating school. This is many times also in the area of agriculture, where you have a young person going to the school for 15 days, and then that young person goes back to his or her village for 15 days. And in that time, they take what they've learned from these rural agricultural schools and they bring them to the villages, and young people, I mean, children who are in grade school and in high school, come to be a source of knowledge in their village. And this is how we can transfer knowledge. So I think there are other alternatives and ways in which we can do this. And I know it's hard to answer fully about the informal market, but this is obviously a key market. If you want to make something that is larger and something that can really affect your society and sell a lot of product and services, this is obviously a key demographic. So we need to think about workarounds. Please go back to you, Rita, and to our colleagues for further questions.
Thank you, Dana, for that insightful answer. Do we have any other questions? I think Andy has a lot going on. Softbound company. Andy is the CEO of Softbound, and I think they are doing wonderful things in their organization. Andy, if you can unmute yourself and tell us a bit. I see you've put some great works you are doing in the chat box. Can you tell us a bit about that? You can unmute yourself and tell us a bit about your work. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Andy.
Yeah.
We're hearing you well.
Okay, so good afternoon. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Andy.
Good afternoon.
Okay, let me share something briefly what we do at Softbound. So for us, we develop bespoke solutions that will empower businesses to be more efficient using technology. For this year, 2020, we are contacted by RMG to help them manage their outgrower model. So we came up with a solution that uses simple mobile technology to register the farmers. That was the very bit they wanted. But I realized once we have the farmers, we can go ahead and then give them unique codes, give them access to financing, and then insurance. For now, we've had discussion with the Alliance Insurance, and we are coming up with the simple micro collection from the farmer. We actually add it to the product, could be fertilizer or seeds, as little as 3 cedis, and they get insurance cover for about a month, between 1,000 to 4,000 cedis. Yeah, so that's what we're doing.
Excellent.
Thank you. Dana, do you have anything? Okay, we have Kevin. Kevin, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm back. Nice one, Andy. Andy is actually my mate from senior high school.
Yeah.
So
Oh, wow.
Small world.
Good to know.
Wow.
Okay. So what Andy has done is exactly what we are trying to build, because once you're able to have the very basic information and data from farmers, there's a lot you can do. You can help do with it. Insurance, there are lots of educational stuff. I used to work for a software company that develops learning content, educational content. Their children could have access to some of these contents if you have them on a platform. Then again, going back to what Florence mentioned earlier, the basics when it comes to ICT, people even don't know in this country. So it becomes very difficult when you want to deal with, especially people in the rural areas. It will be good that we can transcribe some of our talkbacks and our feedbacks into our local languages, because just mere sending or reading a text message becomes a problem. We tried to push our market information, i.e. prices of market commodities on a daily basis, to our farmers. Okay, so we could tell them that today the price of maize is going at this, the price of cassava, yam is going at this. And that's even a challenge. By just SMS, it's a challenge. If data and internet and voice is cheaper, we could do voice messaging, bulk messaging, that they could just easily take the call and listen to these market information. So I think, yeah, we need to push policies to be able to make data and internet and voice and all of that very affordable to help some of us that are on the grounds trying to bring this group of people, and that is our farmers and the rural people, into the digital age. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin. Yes.
Dana, please.
Yes, I just I wanted to I will share these slides with everybody, but first I wanted to please share the contacts, my contacts, and the contacts of my co-researchers with Christopher Wache. This is the second project that we have worked on in Ghana. We have a great chapter about Fidelity Bank and their work in high impact entrepreneurship. And James and I have been working on a new article about the middle class of savings groups, which I think is a great market and a great, it's amazing. Everybody knows someone who is working with savings groups in their communities. And that was one of the things actually that started my interest in this area. But I will, on this slide deck, I was going to share with you this, this idea of experimenting, again, in more depth, and we can talk about this a little bit in more depth. You have different groups here, and I will send you these slides. And the idea here is to evaluate what are in the different groups here, and then what can be scaled up. And if we look at this, we have two different groups. We have a treatment group and a control group, and we're randomized. Again, that's what the dice is presenting here. And this is an idea of getting crop price insurance to people. And this is a way in which you can, if you show evidence like this, you can get more NGOs, more international donors, more people within domestically involved in some of these projects. And we saw, I'm going through these again rather quickly because we're at the end of time here, but I will share these slides with you. And this is just to say that there are some great examples from your country. There are some great examples which people like you are doing, and we can look at some of these things and find out what happens with the sort of financial literacy training, with the sort of ICT, excuse me, competencies and digital competencies. And one of the messages I wanted to present to you is that without evidence, without an ability to show, it's just my opinion or your opinion, it's just a sunshine story, which has its place. Qualitative understandings of what works is key in decision making in life. I mean, a lot of it is happen chance. However, if you can do something that is systematic in proving that if you do X and Y, you will have Z outcome, which will have W impact, then you are able to make a strong case. And we can do this as entrepreneurs, and we can do this as academics, and we can do this even in our personal lives. So, I mean, you know, experimentation and trying to understand what has been discovered, what can be improved, which are the groups, you know, because it's not only about what are the groups that, you know, so you have younger people and older people, you have demographic understanding of your market, you have an understanding of what sort of guarantees work, what are the outcomes that happen because of an intervention like this of loans, and what this can have as an impact on families and on people. But like I say, I will share these slides with you. Here again is our contacts. We hope to have more interaction. You know, most of all, I have to say that I wish I was with you in Ghana, not just in Accra and Cape Coast and in the whole country, and hope that we will have this opportunity soon. And I want to once again thank Rita and all of our the staff in Ghana as well as in Paris for making this happen. Really appreciate it, and thank you all, the participants.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you so much for the very wonderful insights you have given us today. It's been so pleasant. We've learned a lot. And I know that the participants have also learned a lot. All of them are doing something. We thank you all for joining. Thank you so much. And thank you for being part of today's session. Before ending today's program, Dana, do you have any final words of advice for our great entrepreneurs that you've spoken to this afternoon? It's been a great interaction.
Well, I think the final thing that I would advise you is, life is about adventure. It's about experimenting. It's about trying new things. It's about trying to find out what works. It's going down different paths. Don't feel afraid to fail. The earlier you can fail, the better. Failing is learning. I mean, if you didn't have failure as a young child, you would have never learned to walk. You would have never learned to talk. And the other thing that I just want to send across the digital airwaves to you in Ghana is that you have a great country, and you have a wonderful people, warm, friendly, interesting, intelligent, hardworking people. It's about having a full life. I know that spirituality is important, and religion in your country, as is family, as is friends. And I wish you the best of luck in these endeavors, and I thank you once again for this opportunity to share and to speak with you. It's been very, very interesting.
Thank you very much too.
Thank you.
Nice to see you,
I know some of them will be contacting you very soon. Before ending today's program, I would like to tell you about magazines, journals, videos, and dissertations. Usually, this resource is only available to use in person, resulting in the closing of our American spaces. We are opening up access to this amazing resource to the public. If you are interested, sign up using the link that Andrew will put in the chat box. For requests to access this, just sign up, go to the form that Andrew is going to put in the chat box, and through that complete the form, and you would get access. And that concludes our program for today. Please follow us on Facebook at US Embassy Ghana for more amazing virtual programming. Thank you all for joining today's program. Until next time, please stay safe, observe all personal hygiene protocols, practice social distancing, and wear a mask in public, please. Thank you all for joining today's program. We're so grateful we were all able to make it to the program. Dana, special thanks to you. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. It's wonderful having all of you.
We are waiting for the link.
Yes, please.
Madam Rita, we are waiting for the link. Okay.
Okay. Otherwise, we'll put it in the, okay.
Yeah, it's also good to put it in the WhatsApp group so we can have access to it over there.
Okay, that's also fine. That's also fine. So
You can also send it to her by email.
Okay. Okay, so we can send it, we can put it on the WhatsApp group for all of you to have access to. Yes.
I think I got it
right.
now.
Otherwise, let me just put it here also.
Sorry, I had a little issue, but I just posted the link to the form.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Thank you.
We'll share by email as
Thank
well.
That's technology for you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.